Welcome, Ecofriends, to our last podcast.
Aww.
Today, we'll be discussing the current issues concerning our land. So far, we've discussed water and air, but today we're going to take a closer look into relevant problems such as agriculture, deforestation, and biodiversity.
Let's start with agriculture. With farming, we're able to produce a lot of crops and food, but it comes with its drawbacks as well. When natural vegetation is cleared and when farmland is plowed, the exposed topsoil is often blown away by wind or washed away by rain.
And if fertilizer or pesticides had been used in the soil, it may be washed off, leading to sedimentation of rivers or lakes, and the excess nutrients will end up being more harmful than helpful. Sedimentation causes serious damage to freshwater and marine habitats, as well as the local communities that depend on these habitats. For example, the natives of the Zinju Indigenous Park in Brazil reports major declines in fish numbers in the past 5 years.
Farming not only harms waterways, but can degrade the land, reducing the amount of arable land available. When looking at the total global land area, 30% of it is in land degradation. The problem with this is that when agricultural land is degraded, it becomes useless, so producers just move on to the next part of land, abandoning crucial hectares of space.
That's a scary statistic. There's a lot of potential land that may go unused solely because it was damaged through adjacent land's erosion. But there are other ways that farming can damage land too. Flooding can be a result of poorly constructed drainage systems. It won't even take a large amount of rainfall or a hurricane to destroy the land if the irrigation system is weak.
There are many types of irrigation, and there really isn't one that is better than the other. Factors to consider when choosing the best mode of irrigation include the type of crop being grown, fuel cost and availability, labor requirements, water source, and of course the size and shape of the land.
One typically renowned method is furrow irrigation. Basically, water is directed down furrows that have usually been graded to a specific slope, and water to the furrows is supplied by these above-ground PVC pipes with gates that are able to adjust the flow accordingly.
And obviously irrigation is very important, but there are various farming methods that will ensure successful farming as well. For example, in crop rotation, you utilize one field to grow different crops each season. One season you may grow corn, the next you may grow tomatoes. This way you're not planting the same crop with the same soil, which increases the risk of more pests and disease.
And that way each crop is able to be focused in on. Another farming method is integrated pest management, or IPM. Through this, harmless insect predators are used rather than chemical fertilizers to control harmful pests. It's a natural process which prevents pesticide use.
Well, switching gears here, I think it's almost necessary to discuss deforestation on an episode about land.
Most definitely.
Deforestation is a major problem. Earth's forests are being destroyed and completely cleared. 46 to 58,000 square miles of forest are lost each year. That's the same thing as 48 football fields a minute.
A minute? Wow. Well, in about 100 years, all of the world's rainforests could be completely vanished if this rate is continued.
Why would anyone want to do this to the earth?
Olivia, is all about the money. Wooden logs can be sold for a profit, and some logging companies actually clear-cut forests to make roadways to reach more remote forests to cut down those trees for logs. It's a truly perpetual process.
Deforestation destroys habitats of innocent species. 70% of animals and plants live in forests, and each day more and more are being left without homes. Also, deforestation decreases soil quality. Without the shade that trees provide, moist soil easily dries out. And with the canopies gone, heat can no longer be trapped within the forest, causing temperatures to fluctuate.
And it's pretty clear that trees play a crucial role in the water cycle, too. In transpiration, they return water vapor back into the atmosphere, continuing the whole process. Another crucial role that trees play is that they absorb greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and store the carbon within their trunk. When they're cut down, the carbon is released back into the atmosphere, and CO2 then leads to impacts like climate change or sea level rises.
So is there a solution to this? Do we have to just stop completely?
Well, that's not really realistic. We still do need wood and logs and trees to make paper.
So it might be smarter to practice safer and more efficient techniques. Selective logging is a process where only certain trees are cut down at certain times, rather than entirely demolishing an entire forest.
The effects of deforestation do not go unnoticed. The Mau Forest Complex in western Kenya is really feeling them. In the past 10 years, more than a quarter of the forest has been lost. And being that it is the largest closed canopy forest ecosystem in all of Kenya, it is vital that it is not deforested completely.
Another huge consequence of deforestation is the loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity, in the simplest form, is the variety of life. Biodiversity encompasses all organisms, species, ecosystems, and their relationships. We need biodiversity to satisfy basic needs like food, drinking water, fuel, shelter, and medicine. Much of the world's population still uses plants and animals as a primary source of medicine, and in the United States alone, about 57% of the 150 most prescribed drugs have their origins in biodiversity.
Wow. Also, ecosystems provide key services like nutrient cycling and pollination. In fact, 30% of human crops depend on pollinators. And the best part about these pollinators is that they're absolutely free.
Exactly. Without biodiversity, we are left to pay for services that are natural and should cost nothing.
And within biodiversity, there's also genetic and ecological diversity. Genetic diversity being variation in the genes that exist within a species, and ecological diversity being variations in ecosystems and habitats within a natural community.
By practicing safe, eco-friendly farming techniques, reducing deforestation, and protecting ecosystems overall, we can preserve our land before it's too late.
And with all that said, now it's time for takeaways.
In our world, the need for environmental ambassadors is of a necessity. Looking at all of these issues, it can feel overwhelming and kind of like your own actions can't make a difference. But they can. It's up to us, the younger generations, to voice our opinions and help save our Earth. In the words of Jane Goodall, you cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make.
She's right. No matter what we do, we make an impact. It's our responsibility, seeing that this is our home, that we make an impact and make it a positive one. We didn't think we could ever do anything of value to contribute to the problems plaguing the environment, but this podcast is a start. Now that you out there listening are a part of this, you're joining us in the path of progress.
Take everything you've learned from the Lorax or Wally or your science class or this podcast and use that to inspire you to do the great things we're capable of. We're going to be posting a few links of environmental action organizations which you can donate to or even volunteer at. After all, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not.
I love the Lorax. If this is something we keep putting off for the next generation to fix, eventually there won't be any more generations to put it off to.
So thank you guys so much for listening and being a part of this, and hopefully these takeaways are really genuinely taken away.
Thanks for listening.
That's all for now, Eco Friends.